The Galactic Council headquarters floated in the heart of the Orion Nebula. It was a station the size of a small moon, built from metals that did not exist on Earth. Inside its central chamber, representatives from 800 alien civilizations sat in rising tiers that stretched toward a ceiling lost in darkness. Lights from distant stars filtered through crystalline walls, casting strange shadows across faces that had never known sunlight. Ambassador Richard Kane stood alone in the center of the chamber. He was 53 years old, gray at the temples, and he had spent 30 years as a diplomat on Earth. None of that had prepared him for this moment. Around him, creatures of every shape watched with eyes, sensors, and organs he could not name. Some had scales. Some had shells. Some were made of light itself. All of them were silent, waiting. The High Arbiter of the Council floated above the assembly in a vessel of living metal. The Arbiter was a Vrinthian, a being of liquid mercury that could reshape itself at will. Right now, it had formed something like a face, and that face was not friendly. "Human ambassador," the Arbiter said. Its voice came from everywhere at once. "You have been summoned to answer for an act of war." Richard kept his hands steady at his sides. "I am here to provide the truth. The truth is known." The Arbiter's form rippled with anger. 14 days ago, a Talrican survey fleet entered the Kepler expanse to claim mineral rights. They encountered a human vessel and ordered it to withdraw. When your ship refused, the Talricans moved to enforce their claim. Your vessel destroyed 2 of their ships and damaged a 3rd. 47 Talrican crew members are dead. Murmurs swept through the chamber. Richard could feel the weight of 800 civilizations judging humanity in that moment. "The Talrican Empire demands justice," the Arbiter continued. "They demand that Earth surrender its military capabilities and submit to Confederation oversight. They demand reparations for the lives lost. And they demand that the humans responsible be turned over for trial." Richard looked up at the Talrican delegation. They were insectoid creatures, 6-limbed and armored, with mandibles that clicked in what he had learned with satisfaction. Their leader, a massive warrior named Fleet Commander Drax, stared down at him with compound eyes that showed no mercy. "Ambassador Kane," the Arbiter said, "what say you in humanity's defense?" Richard took a slow breath. This was the moment everything changed. Not just for him, but for every human being alive. "I say," he replied, his voice carrying clearly through the translation fields, "that the Talrican Empire attacked first. I say that our vessel acted in self-defense. And I say that the Council should be very careful about what they do next." The chamber erupted. Alien voices shouted in languages that the translation system struggled to process. The Arbiter's form turned dark with fury. "You dare threaten this Council?" "I am not threatening anyone." Richard raised his hand, and the shouting slowly died. "I am stating facts. The vessel the Talricans attacked was not a warship. It was not a military craft of any kind. It was a reconnaissance squad. 6 humans in a light survey ship, armed with nothing but basic equipment." He paused to let that sink in. 6 humans with no combat training, no heavy weapons, and no backup destroyed 2 Talrican warships and crippled a 3rd. They did this while protecting themselves from an unprovoked attack in neutral space. Commander Drax rose from his seat. "Lies. No survey vessel could defeat our warships. Your humans clearly possessed hidden weapons, advanced technology that you have concealed from the Confederation." "We concealed nothing," Richard replied calmly. "Everything about that vessel is in our public records. The Pathfinder is a standard exploration craft. Crew of 6. 2-point defense turrets. 1 mining laser. That is all." He reached into his pocket and produced a small data chip. "This contains the complete sensor recordings from the engagement. I request that the Council review them before passing judgment." The Arbiter's form flickered uncertainly. "You wish us to believe that 6 untrained humans in a survey ship defeated 3 Talrican warships? I do not ask you to believe anything. I ask you to watch." The chamber fell silent. The Arbiter extended a tendril of liquid metal and took the chip. A moment later, a holographic display materialized above the assembly, showing the dark expanse of the Kepler asteroid field. Richard watched as the recording began. He had seen it dozens of times already, but it still made his heart race. The Pathfinder appeared first, a small craft drifting through the asteroids. Then the Talrican ships emerged, 3 massive vessels bristling with weapons. The lead ship transmitted a demand for surrender. The Pathfinder's pilot, a young man named Lieutenant James Ward, responded that they were in neutral space and had every right to be there. The Talricans opened fire. What followed was 12 minutes of footage that would change galactic politics forever. The tiny human ship dodged and weaved through the asteroid field with impossible agility. It used the environment as a weapon, triggering rock slides and creating debris clouds. It turned mining equipment into improvised weapons. And through it all, 6 ordinary humans worked together with coordination that bordered on telepathic. When the recording ended, the chamber was utterly silent. Richard looked up at the assembled representatives. 6 humans, a survey ship, no military training, and they won. He turned slowly, meeting the eyes of as many aliens as he could. "So I asked the Council to consider a simple question. If this is what happens when you attack 6 untrained humans in a scout ship, what do you think would happen if you attacked Earth?" No one answered. Richard smiled grimly. "The Talricans are not angry because we fought back. They are terrified because we won. And now, every species in this chamber is wondering the same thing. What else can humans do?" He straightened his jacket and faced the Arbiter directly. "Earth does not want war. We came to the Confederation seeking peace. But we will not be attacked without consequence. We will not surrender our sovereignty because the Talricans underestimated us. And we will not apologize for surviving." The Arbiter's form had gone pale. "This matter requires further investigation." "It does," Richard agreed. "And while you investigate, I suggest the Council consider something else. The crew of the Pathfinder are not heroes by human standards. They are not exceptional. They are average people who did what any human would do when backed into a corner." He paused. "We have 8 billion more just like them." The silence that followed was the loudest sound Richard Kane had ever heard. 14 days earlier, the survey ship Pathfinder drifted through the Kepler asteroid field. Its engines hummed quietly as automated systems mapped mineral deposits on nearby rocks. Inside the small cockpit, Lieutenant James Ward leaned back in his pilot seat and stared at the stars through the forward window. Behind him, Dr. Elena Vasquez ran geological scans from her station. She was humming a song that James did not recognize, her fingers moving across the controls with practiced ease. In the engineering bay, Technical Officer Ben Torres monitored the ship's reactor while reading a novel on his personal tablet. It was a quiet day. They had been in the field for 3 months, and everyone had settled into comfortable routines. Survey work was not exciting, but James liked it that way. No pressure, no deadlines, just the endless beauty of space and the satisfaction of doing useful work. "James, I have something strange on sensors." Communications Officer Maya Santos appeared on the bridge display, her dark eyes narrowed with concern. "Large energy signatures incoming. Multiple contacts." James sat up and checked his instruments. 3 ships were approaching fast, their weapons already powered. They were big, very big. "That is Talritan," Elena said, recognizing the hull design. "What are they doing out here? This sector is not claimed." Before James could answer, the communication system crackled to life. A harsh, clicking voice spoke through the translator. "Human vessel, you are trespassing in Talrican space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." James exchanged looks with his crew. Security officers Anna Reed and Marcus Blake emerged from the cargo bay, already pulling on their emergency suits. "This is Lieutenant Ward of the Earth Survey Corps," James transmitted. "We are in neutral territory, according to Confederation charts. Please confirm your claim documentation." The response was immediate and hostile. The Taurican Empire does not explain itself to lesser species. You have 30 seconds to comply, or you will be destroyed. "They are targeting us," Maya reported, her voice tight. "All 3 ships have weapons locked." James felt his heart rate spike, but his hands stayed steady on the controls. He had been flying ships since he was 16 years old. He had navigated asteroid fields, solar storms, and equipment failures. But he had never been in combat. None of them had. "Ben, I need maximum power to engines," he said calmly. "Elena, switch your station to tactical. Maya, start recording everything and broadcast our distress signal." "James, we cannot fight 3 warships," Ben protested from engineering. "We have point defense guns and a mining laser." "That is it. I know. We are not going to fight them." James pulled up a map of the asteroid field on his display. "We are going to make them fight the environment." The first plasma blast screamed past the Pathfinder as James threw the ship into a sharp turn. The small survey vessel responded instantly, darting between 2 massive asteroids, while the Taurica and ships struggled to follow. "They are too big," Elena realized. "They cannot maneuver in here like we can." "Exactly." James pushed the engines harder, weaving through a cluster of spinning rocks. "They have the firepower, but we have the mobility. As long as we stay in the dense parts of the field, their weapons cannot get a clean lock." Another blast struck nearby, vaporizing an asteroid and sending debris flying. The Pathfinder shuddered as fragments peppered its shields. "Shields at 80%, Ben reported. "We cannot take many more near misses." "Then I will make sure they miss completely." James pulled the ship into a spiral dive around a massive rock, using its bulk to block the Taurican weapons dot in the cargo bay. Anna and Marcus secured the equipment and prepared for the worst. They were security officers, trained for emergencies, but this was beyond anything their training had covered. "James needs help," Anna said. "We have to do something. What can we do?" Marcus asked. "We are not soldiers." Anna looked at the cargo surrounding them. Survey probes, mining equipment, sample containers. None of it was meant for combat, but all of it could be used. "Remember that emergency procedure we practiced last year?" Anna said slowly. "The one where we used probe thrusters to redirect debris during the Luna Station incident." Marcus stared at her. "You want to turn the probes into missiles?" "I want to turn everything into missiles." Anna grabbed a toolkit and started working. "Help me reprogram the thruster systems. If James can get us close enough to those ships, we can launch the probes directly at their hulls. That is insane. Do you have a better idea?" Marcus did not. On the bridge, James continued his desperate dance through the asteroids. The Taurican ships followed, their frustration evident in their increasingly wild firing patterns. They were not used to prey that fought back. "James, Anna has an idea," Maya reported. "She wants to use our survey probes as improvised weapons. Will it work?" "She says maybe." "Good enough. Tell her to get ready." James checked his tactical display. The lead Taurican ship was pressing closer, trying to corner them against a large asteroid cluster. "Elena, I need you to analyze that cluster. Find me weak points in the rock structure." Elena understood immediately. "You want to collapse it on them." I want options. Can you do it? Her fingers flew across the controls. Within seconds, she had a complete geological map of the cluster, highlighting fault lines and stress fractures. If we hit these 3 points with the mining laser, the thermal expansion will break the cluster apart. It will not destroy their ships, but it will slow them down. Do it. The Pathfinder's mining laser activated, carving precise lines into the asteroid cluster. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the rocks began to shift and crack, sending massive fragments tumbling into the path of the pursuing ships. The lead, Talurcan vessel tried to avoid the debris, but was too slow. Rocks the size of houses slammed into its shields, draining their power and forcing it to fall back. 1 down, 2 to go, Ben said. But they are learning. They are spreading out to surround us. James nodded grimly. The Tauricans had made mistakes at first, underestimating the small human ship. But they were adapting. He needed to end this before they figured out how to corner him. Anna, are those probes ready? Ready as they will ever be, Anna replied. We have 12 of them loaded with maximum fuel. They will not do much damage to armored hulls, but if we can hit their sensors or weapon arrays, ... That is all I need. James studied his tactical display, calculating angles and distances. Maya, I need you to do something difficult. Open a channel to the Taurican commander. What? Why? Because I am going to give him a chance to walk away. And when he refuses, I want it on record that we tried. Maya opened the channel. The Taurican commander's face appeared on screen, mandibles clicking with rage. Human! Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. James kept his voice steady. Commander, you have already lost the element of surprise. Your lead ship is damaged. Your other 2 vessels are struggling to track us in this environment. I am offering you the opportunity to withdraw before this gets worse. The commander laughed, a harsh clicking sound. You think you can defeat us? You are nothing but insects in a tin can. Maybe, James said. But these insects have already drawn blood. Are you willing to bet more of your crew that you can finish what you started? The commander's eyes narrowed. All ships converge on the human vessel. Destroy them. The channel closed. James sighed. Well, I tried. James, they are closing in, Elena warned. Both ships coming from opposite directions. We have maybe 2 minutes before they have us pinned. Then we better make those 2 minutes count. James gripped the controls. Anna, on my signal, launch everything you have at the ship on our port side. Ben, transfer all power from life support to engines. We can breathe later. You are crazy, Ben said, even as he made the adjustments. Probably. James smiled. But crazy is all we have got. The Pathfinder dove toward the gap between the 2 Taurican ships, its engines screaming at maximum power. At the last possible moment, James rolled the ship and Anna launched the probes. 12 improvised missiles streaked toward the port-side vessel, their small size making them almost impossible to target. Half were destroyed by point defense fire. The other 6 struck the ship's sensor array and forward weapons, blinding it and crippling its offensive capability. James did not wait to see the result. He was already pulling the Pathfinder into a tight turn, heading straight for the damaged vessel's vulnerable underside. Elena, mining laser. Target their reactor coolant system. Ben's calculations should show you exactly where it is. How do you know where their reactor is? Elena asked. Because I have been studying Taurican ship designs for months. Just in case. The laser fired. The Taurican ship's hull glowed, then melted. Coolant erupted from the breach, causing a cascade failure that shut down the entire vessel. 2 ships disabled. 1 to go. But the 3rd ship had learned from its companion's mistakes. It hung back, outside the asteroid field, weapons trained on the only exit route. "It is waiting for us," Maya said. "If we try to leave, it will tear us apart." James studied the situation. They had won 2 impossible victories, but the third ship was not making mistakes. It had superior firepower and a clear field of fire. "And we do not leave," James said quietly. "We make it come to us." The crew of the Pathfinder exchanged looks. They were exhausted, terrified, and running out of options. But they were not ready to give up yet. The third Talrican warship held position at the edge of the asteroid field. Its commander had watched 2 of his vessels fall to a tiny human craft, and he was not going to make the same mistakes. He waited with weapons ready, knowing the humans would have to emerge eventually. Inside the Pathfinder, James Ward studied the tactical display. His crew was gathered on the bridge, faces tight with exhaustion and fear. They had been fighting for nearly 40 minutes. The ship's shields were down to 12%. Life support was offline to power the engines. They had maybe 15 minutes of breathable air left. "He is smart," Marcus said, looking at the enemy ship's position. "If we try to run, he will destroy us before we clear the field. And if we stay here, we suffocate," Ben added. "Not a lot of great options." James was silent, his mind racing through possibilities. They had used the asteroids, the mining laser, the survey probes. What else did they have? "Elena," he said slowly, "what is the composition of that large asteroid at grid point 7? Elena pulled up her geological data. Mostly iron and nickel, with significant ice deposits in the subsurface. "Why? How much ice?" "Millions of tons. It is essentially a frozen lake under a shell of rock." Elena's eyes widened as she understood. "James, if we heat that ice rapidly enough, ... it will expand and crack the asteroid apart." "I know." James pulled up a trajectory calculation. "But I do not want to break the asteroid. I want to move it." The crew stared at him. "You want to move a 500-meter asteroid," Maya said flatly. "With a mining laser. Not move it much. Just enough to change its trajectory." James pointed at his display. "If we superheat the ice deposits on one side, the expanding steam will push the asteroid like a rocket. Not fast, but it does not need to be fast. It just needs to drift into the Talrican ship's line of fire." "And then?" Anna asked. "Then the Talrican has a choice. Move out of position to avoid the asteroid, or stay put and get hit by millions of tons of rock." Ben ran the calculations quickly. "It could work, but the timing has to be perfect. If the asteroid moves too slowly, the Talrican will have time to reposition and still catch us. If it moves too fast, we will not have time to escape. Then we make the timing perfect." James looked at his crew. "I know this is insane. I know none of us signed up for combat. But those Talricans attacked us without provocation, and they are not going to let us go. Our only choice is to be smarter than they are." No one spoke for a moment. Then Elena nodded. "Tell me where to aim the laser." They moved into position carefully, using the asteroids for cover. The Talrican ship tracked them but did not fire, waiting for a clear shot. Its commander was patient. He could afford to wait. James brought the Pathfinder to a stop behind the massive asteroid, shielded from the enemy's weapons. "Elena, start heating the ice. Concentrate on the side facing away from us." The mining laser activated, its beam drilling deep into the asteroid's surface. At first, nothing visible happened. Then, slowly, plumes of steam began erupting from cracks in the rock. "It is working," Elena reported. "The ice is vaporizing. I am reading movement. Very slight, but it is there. How long until it blocks the Talrican's firing lane?" 8 minutes at current rate. We have 12 minutes of air." James nodded. "That is enough. Everyone conserve oxygen." No unnecessary talking or movement. The minutes crawled by. James watched his instruments, tracking the asteroid's slow drift and the Taurican's position. The enemy ship had not noticed the danger yet. Its sensors were focused on the Pathfinder, waiting for the humans to make a mistake. 5 minutes, Elena whispered. Enemy ship is moving, Maya suddenly said. They are adjusting position. I think they detected the asteroid's trajectory change. James felt his stomach drop. If the Taurican moved too far, the whole plan would fail. How much are they moving? Just a few 100 meters. They are trying to maintain their firing angle while avoiding the rock. They are being careful, Marcus said. Too careful to fall for a simple trick. James watched the display, thinking furiously. The Taurican commander was smart. He was not going to let a drifting asteroid change his tactical position significantly. But maybe that caution could be used against him. Maya, open a channel to the Taurican. What are you going to say? Something stupid. James waited for the connection. When the Taurican commander's face appeared, he smiled. Commander, I want to negotiate a surrender. The Taurican's mandibles clicked with suspicion. You wish to surrender? No, I want you to surrender. James kept his voice calm. You have seen what we did to your other ships. You are alone now, and we have proven we can fight. Walk away, and this ends peacefully. You are bluffing, the commander said. Your ship is damaged. You are running out of air. All I have to do is wait. Maybe, but can you afford to wait? James gestured at his display. Right now, my geologist is mapping every asteroid in this field. We know their compositions, their weaknesses, their trajectories. We can turn any one of them into a weapon. How long before we figure out how to drop one on your ship? The commander's eyes flickered to his own sensors. The asteroid was still drifting closer, and suddenly it looked less like an accident and more like a threat. You cannot control rocks, the commander said. But there was uncertainty in his voice. We just moved that asteroid with a mining laser, James replied. What else do you think we can do? For a long moment, neither of them spoke. James could see the Taurican calculating odds, weighing risks. The commander had started this engagement, expecting an easy victory over inferior prey. Now he was facing something he did not understand. Commander, you have lost 2 ships and gained nothing, James said quietly. Your empire will not thank you for losing a 3rd. Take what is left of your fleet and go home. Tell them the humans were better prepared than you expected. Tell them whatever you want. But end this now, before more of your crew die. The commander's mandibles worked silently. Then he cut the channel. What is he doing? Anna asked, thinking. James watched the tactical display. Come on. Make the smart choice. 30 seconds passed. A minute. The asteroid continued its slow drift toward the Taurican ship's position. He is moving, Elena said suddenly. The Taurican is pulling back. He is leaving. James let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. Everyone stay calm. Do not do anything that looks threatening. Let him go. They watched in silence as the Taurican warship turned and accelerated away from the asteroid field. Within minutes, it had jumped faster than light speed and vanished from sensors. He left, Maya said, her voice shaking. He actually left. He was not stupid, James replied. He knew we had already won. All he could do was lose another ship trying to kill us out of pride. The crew sat in stunned silence for a moment. Then Ben started laughing, a slightly hysterical sound. We did it. We actually did it. A survey ship against 3 warships, and we won. We survived, James corrected. Winning would have meant nobody had to die. He thought of the Taurican crews on the disabled ships. Some of them had probably survived, but others had not. That weight would stay with him for a long time. What do we do now? Anna asked. We get home. We report what happened. And we let the diplomats figure out the rest. James started bringing systems back online. Ben, give me life support first. Then navigation. Maya, make sure all our recordings are saved and backed up. Earth needs to see exactly what happened here. As the Pathfinder limped out of the asteroid field, James looked back at the two disabled Talrican ships drifting in space. He had not wanted this fight. None of them had. But when the choice was fight or die, they had found something inside themselves that even they did not know existed. He hoped it would be enough to prevent a war. But deep down, he suspected it was just the beginning. The Galactic Council chamber remained in chaos for nearly an hour after Ambassador Kane's presentation ended. Representatives shouted at each other in languages that the translation systems struggled to process. Alliances that had stood for centuries cracked and reformed as species, recalculated their position relative to humanity. Kane stood calmly in the center of the accusation circle, waiting for order to be restored. He had expected this reaction. In fact, he had planned for it. Finally, the Vrinthian Arbiter's form flashed bright red, and its voice boomed through the chamber. Silence. The shouting stopped. Representatives settled back into their seats, though the tension remained thick enough to taste. This council will address the matter properly, the Arbiter said, its form shifting to an authoritative purple. Ambassador Kane, the recordings you have presented appear authentic. However, their implications are not disturbing. Many representatives have questions. I will answer what I can. A Morgoth representative rose first. The species was known for its military prowess, its members standing 3 meters tall with stone-like skin that could resist most weapons. Ambassador, your Lieutenant Ward displayed tactical capabilities that contradict our understanding of human development. How does a survey pilot possess such combat skills? Lieutenant Ward is not a combat pilot, Kane replied. He is a civilian who has been flying ships since he was 16 years old. Before joining the Survey Corps, he spent 5 years navigating cargo routes through the most dangerous asteroid fields in human space. His maneuvering skills come from thousands of hours of practical experience, not military training. And the others? The geologist who identified structural weaknesses in seconds? The technicians who converted civilian equipment into weapons? Dr. Vasquez holds 3 advanced degrees and has conducted fieldwork on 40 different worlds. Technical Officer Torres has maintained reactors on deep space stations where equipment failure means death. Security Officers Reed and Blake are former emergency responders trained to improvise solutions under impossible conditions. Kane spread his hands. None of them are exceptional by human standards. They are simply competent professionals who applied their existing skills to an unexpected situation. The Morgoth sat down slowly, its massive face unreadable. A Krelax representative spoke next, its chitinous antennae twitching. Ambassador, we have analyzed the tactical sequences in your recording. The coordination displayed by your crew exceeds what our military units achieve after years of integrated training. How do humans develop such seamless cooperation without extensive practice? Kane smiled slightly. This was the question he had been waiting for. Humans are social creatures by nature. We evolved on a planet that tried very hard to kill us. We were not the strongest, fastest, or most dangerous species on Earth. We survived because we learned to work together better than anything else. He pulled up a new display showing humans engaged in various activities. A surgical team in an operating room. A construction crew on a building site. A sports team in competition. In each case, people moved and communicated with fluid precision, anticipating each other's needs without obvious signals. This is baseline human behavior. We do not train for coordination. We are born with the capacity for it, and we develop it through every social interaction from childhood onward. By the time a human reaches adulthood, they have spent decades learning to read other humans, predict their actions, and synchronize with them instinctively. The Krelax made a clicking sound that might have been concern. You are saying that any group of humans can achieve this level of cooperation? Given sufficient motivation, yes. The crew of the Pathfinder was fighting for their lives. That tends to focus the mind. More questions followed. Representatives asked about human physical capabilities, technological development, and military doctrine. Kane answered carefully, never lying, but always framing the truth in ways that emphasized humanity's potential while downplaying specific capabilities. Through it all, the Talrican delegation sat in furious silence. Fleet Commander Drax's mandibles clicked continuously, a sign of extreme agitation that Kane recognized. The Talricans had come to this council expecting easy condemnation of humanity. Instead, they were watching their accusation transform into an advertisement for human competence. Finally, Drax rose to speak. Arbiter, the human ambassador has cleverly avoided the central issue. Regard. Less of how the engagement occurred. The fact remains that Talrican citizens are dead. The Empire demands justice. The Empire attacked first, Kane replied evenly. Under Confederation law, Article 47, Section 12, any species has the right to defend itself against unprovoked aggression in neutral territory. The territory was not neutral. The Empire had filed claim documentation that was not registered with the Confederation and was therefore not legally binding. Your ships attacked in space that by any recognized law was open to all. Kane turned to address the full council. If the Confederation rules that unregistered territorial claims can be enforced through violence, then no ship from any species is safe. Any government could simply declare space as theirs and attack anyone who enters. The chamber stirred uneasily. Several representatives exchanged worried glances. The implications of such a ruling would destabilize the entire basis of interstellar law. The arbiter's form flickered between colors. The legal question is complex. Perhaps a committee should be formed to know. Kane's voice cut through the diplomatic hedging. Earth will not accept a delay. The facts are clear. The recordings are verified. The law is unambiguous. We demand that the Talrican Empire withdraw its accusations and apologize for attacking our people. Drax made a sound of outrage. Apologize? The Empire does not apologize to inferior species. And the Empire should reconsider what it considers inferior. Kane's voice hardened. Your ships attacked 6 humans who were doing survey work. Those humans destroyed your vessels using civilian equipment and training. If that is what inferior looks like, I wonder what you would call yourselves. The chamber went absolutely silent. No one spoke to a Talrican that way. The Empire was one of the most powerful military forces in the Confederation, feared by dozens of species. But Kane did not flinch. He met Drax's compound eyes with a steady gaze that showed no fear. Let me be clear, Kane continued. Earth does not want war with the Talrican Empire, or anyone else. We came to this confederation seeking peaceful cooperation. But we will not be bullied. We will not accept sanctions for defending ourselves. And we will not allow our people to be attacked without consequence. He looked up at the assembled representatives. If this council decides that humanity has no right to self-defense, if you rule that the Talricans can attack our ships with impunity, then Earth will have to ensure its own security. And I promise you, the galaxy will not enjoy the results. The threat hung in the air. Kane could see representatives calculating, wondering, fearing. If 6 humans in a survey ship could do this much damage, what could 8 billion humans with an actual military accomplish? The Arbiter's form had gone pale. Ambassador Kane, Your position has been noted. This council will recess to consider the matter. Take all the time you need, Kane said. But remember what you have seen today. 6 ordinary humans. A civilian ship. No support, no weapons, no plan. And they won. He straightened his jacket and walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. Behind him, 800 civilizations watched and wondered what they had gotten themselves into by underestimating humanity. And in the Taurican section, Commander Drax stared at the empty accusation circle with the first flickers of something he had never expected to feel. Fear. 3 weeks after the Galactic Council session, the crew of the Pathfinder gathered in a conference room aboard Gateway Station. They had spent the intervening time giving interviews, providing testimony, and trying to adjust to their sudden fame. None of them were handling it well. Lieutenant James Ward sat at the head of the table, looking exhausted. I just finished my 14th briefing with military analysts. They want to know how I calculated the asteroid trajectory in my head during combat. What did you tell them? Elena asked. The truth. I did not calculate anything. I guessed and got lucky. James shook his head. They did not believe me. Nobody believes us, Maya said. The news feeds are calling us tactical geniuses. Some analyst on Sol Network said our maneuvering patterns showed advanced combat training that Earth must be hiding from the Confederation. We were just trying not to die, Ben muttered. That is not a strategy. That is desperation. The door opened, and Ambassador Kane entered the room. He looked tired but satisfied, carrying a data tablet that glowed with official documents. Good news, he said, taking a seat. The Galactic Council has reached a decision. The Taurican Empire is withdrawing all accusations against Earth. They are also paying reparations for the unprovoked attack on your vessel and issuing a formal apology. The crew stared at him in shock. They apologized? Anna asked. The Tauricans actually apologized? They did not have much choice. After your recording went public, opinion across the Confederation shifted dramatically. 17 species have submitted formal statements supporting Earth's right to self-defense. Even some of the Tauricans' traditional allies are distancing themselves. Kane smiled grimly. It turns out that nobody likes a bully, especially when the bully loses. What about us? Marcus asked. Are we still in trouble? Far from it. You are heroes. Kane pulled up a list on his tablet. Earth Command wants to give you medals. The Krelax hierarchy has invited you to demonstrate human capabilities at their military academy. The Luminar Collective wants to study your coordination patterns. And you have received personal commendations from the leaders of 6 different species who were impressed by your survival. James put his head in his hands. I do not want to be a hero. I want to go back to mapping asteroids. I am afraid that is not possible. At least not immediately. Kane's expression grew serious. What you did has changed everything. The entire Confederation is reassessing its understanding of human capabilities. Every species is asking the same question. If 6 survey crew members can do this, what can humanity's actual military accomplish? We keep telling everyone we are not special, Elena said. Why does nobody listen? Because they do not want to believe it. Kane leaned forward. Think about it from their perspective. For centuries, the major powers of the Confederation have maintained a balance. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses. They have calculated the costs of conflict and decided that peace is more profitable than war. He gestured at the crew. Then humanity arrives. You seem harmless. Technologically advanced enough to be useful, but not so powerful as to be a threat. The established powers welcomed us because they thought they could control us, profit from us, maybe eventually absorb us into their own spheres of influence. And now? James asked. Now they realized they were wrong. They watched 6 humans with mining equipment outmaneuver and destroy warships. They heard that you consider yourselves average. And they are terrified. The room fell silent. The crew looked at each other, seeing their own discomfort reflected in their companions' faces. "We did not ask for this," Maya said quietly. "We were just trying to survive." "I know, but that is exactly what makes it so powerful." Kane stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Most species in the Confederation would have surrendered when faced with 3 warships. They would have calculated the odds, recognized that victory was impossible, and submitted. That is the rational response. He turned back to face them. But you did not surrender. You fought with everything you had, improvising weapons from civilian equipment, using the environment as a tool, coordinating without speaking, because you could predict each other's actions. You refused to accept defeat, even when defeat was the logical outcome. "That is just how humans are," Ben said. "We do not give up easily." "Exactly. And that is what terrifies them." Kane returned to his seat. The Confederation has never encountered a species that combines human adaptability with human stubbornness. They do not know how to predict us. They do not know how to control us. And they are starting to realize that they cannot threaten us into submission, because we will always find a way to fight back. James thought about that for a long moment. So what happens now? Now, humanity's position in the galaxy changes. Earth is being invited to participate in security discussions that we were previously excluded from. Trade agreements that were stalled are suddenly moving forward. Species that ignored our diplomatic overtures are now eager to establish relations. Kane smiled. "You 6 have done more for human diplomacy in one afternoon than our Foreign Service accomplished in 3 years. The galaxy is not just aware of humanity anymore. They respect us. Some of them fear us. Either way, they are taking us seriously." "And the Talricans?" Anna asked. "Are they going to accept this?" "Some will. The Empire's military leadership has already begun requesting information about human training methods and tactical doctrine. They would rather learn from us than fight us." Kane's expression darkened. "But there are factions within the Empire that see your victory as a humiliation that must be avenged. We will need to be careful. Will there be a war?" Marcus asked. "I do not think so. Not yet, anyway. The Talricans are angry, but they are not stupid. They know that attacking Earth directly would be catastrophic for both sides." Kane paused. But the balance of power has shifted. Old assumptions are being questioned. The next few years will be complicated. He stood and gathered his tablet. "For now, enjoy your celebrity. Accept the medals, do the interviews, show the galaxy that humans are not the monsters some fear we might be. You have an opportunity to shape how other species see us. Use it wisely." After Kane left, the crew sat in silence for a while. "You know what bothers me most?" Elena finally said. "Everyone keeps asking how we did it. How did we fight so well, coordinate so perfectly, adapt so quickly? And when we tell them the truth, they think we are being modest or hiding something." "The truth is not impressive enough," Maya agreed. "They want us to have secret training or hidden technology. They cannot accept that we are just ordinary people who refuse to die." James looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, hundreds of alien civilizations were watching humanity, trying to understand what they had witnessed. Some were afraid. Some were curious. Some were already planning how to use or neutralize the unexpected threat that Earth represented. "Maybe that is the most human thing of all," he said quietly. "We do not think we are special. We just do what needs to be done and assume everyone else could do the same. Could they?" Ben asked. James thought about the Talrican commander who who had retreated rather than risk his ship against a survey vessel. He thought about the council representatives who had expected humanity to apologize for surviving. He thought about all the species in the galaxy who would have calculated the odds and surrendered. "I do not know," he admitted, "but I hope we never have to find out." Outside the window, the stars burned cold and distant. The galaxy had changed, and humanity's place in it would never be the same. 6 ordinary people in a survey ship had shown the universe what humans could do when pushed to the edge, and the universe was paying attention. The story of the Pathfinder was just the beginning. But for now, its crew was content to sit together in silence, grateful to be alive and wondering what the future would bring, whatever it was. They would face it the same way they had faced the Talarican warships docked together,